I want to talk about burnout. What's going on YouTube? This is gonna be a quick little video, but before we get into that, a big thanks to all those who subscribed to me over the last couple weeks. I know some of you seem to really like that one gear review that I did post about the 7200. And I know I promised y'all a series of videos of all the gear that I currently own, and I'm still gonna be looking to get into those videos. So if you're new and you're interested in those videos, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those future videos on all the gear that I do own. Also, real quick, I'm operating out of a new space right now. I converted my girlfriend's old office in our house into my own editing office because she's used it when she was in that current quarantine phase. So she hasn't been using it as much anymore. So I kicked her out. I moved in, moved the editing stuff in. So I'm thinking this is gonna be a lot of where I'm gonna do a lot of my YouTube talking head videos. And I still have the other studio space in the other room. And that's gonna be more so for like a podcast type vibe. So I'm able to separate the two. And maybe even in the future, I get to a point where I start renting out that space or people wanna come in and start a podcast. That way you don't have to, buy a bunch of different equipment. So I have everything set up for you guys. So if you guys wanna come and just talk, I have that space for you. So I'm thinking maybe in the future, I might be having something where I rent out the space for, whatever the case is. So stay tuned for those if you're interested in starting a podcast, because I know podcasts are big in this day and age. So if you're looking to get into something like that and you need a space and cameras to kind of rent out, I may be doing that in the future, so stay tuned. But this particular office is not done yet. I'm currently still looking to kind of manipulate some things and put some things up. So once I get done putting this office together, I'll maybe kind of throw a quick video out there, just kind of going through and showing you guys the space, seeing what I got going on in terms of like the camera setup, the editing bay, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. But now that that's all out the way, let's talk about burnout. Now, over the past month, man, I've been in a serious rut. And I don't know if y'all have ever been to a point in your business or your day-to-day life where you become so busy to a point where you just crash and you hit a wall and you don't feel like doing anything. Yeah, that was me. So I figured I'd come on here real quick, just share a little bit about that, hopefully give you guys some tips on how to avoid it and give you some insights on how I try to get through it and some steps that I'm taking currently to kind of help me avoid it in the future. And also, man, just hit me up and kind of share some techniques that y'all use. I'm always looking for different ways to apply different type of things to my workflow to try to just make my life as efficient as possible. So please feel free to share a lot of information that you guys have, because I'm out here just winging it. I don't really know what I'm doing. So first off, how do you even avoid burnout? Or at least how do I think that you should avoid burnout? Because I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend like I'm some expert on the matter, because that would just be BS. I haven't cracked the code on this thing, but through some research and getting some advice from some other friends and things like that, I feel like I have a pretty good idea on how to try to avoid it in the future. And number one is don't say yes to every job or every opportunity. And now this is hard to do because as creatives or even just business owners in general, money isn't guaranteed. So it kind of puts you in a place where you feel like you have to take every job and every opportunity that comes because you just don't know when that next job is gonna come, when your next paycheck's gonna come, and you get to a point where you start to reach that dead period or that period where things just become really slow, because I know it happens to all of us. And then you get to a point where you start questioning a lot of decisions that you're making just because things aren't happening the way that you envision things will go throughout the month. And then you're trying to hit monthly goals, you're trying to make sure you have enough money to pay for your bills and your rent and all that type of stuff. It could get really stressful, but it is important that we understand that not all jobs are good jobs. So I will say just be mindful of that and just go with your instincts. Not every job is gonna benefit you, even though you think you're getting paid what you're currently worth or the budget is what you currently want it to be for a particular job. That doesn't necessarily mean that job is the right job for you. Number two, cater to yourself. Now, what I mean by this is getting back to the things that actually make you happy. And if you're one of those people like I am and that constantly lies to yourself and says things like working makes me happy. Yes, although that can be true, working makes me happy at times. I do encourage you guys to find something else that you like doing that serves to your mental health that also makes you genuinely happy, aside from work. Now, for me personally, that's finding love for working out again. For those of you that don't know this, I used to be a personal trainer for 10 years before I started creating. So for me, finding that love for the gym again and just getting more consistent with going to the gym and working out is gonna be huge for me in terms of my mental health and me starting to try to avoid burnout in the long run. Also for me, I'm starting to learn and pick up golf. Now, golf is something that's new to me and it's something that I'm not necessarily adept at. So I think that's good because getting to a point where you become a student of something again and you're learning something new and you're trying to pick up a new hobby, you allow yourself to become a student of something. So you allow yourself to be bad at something and you actually like doing it. You're gonna progress, and you open your mind up to new possibilities and things that you didn't necessarily thought you can do. So my advice is I would look to seek and pick up a new hobby. Just be careful about what hobby you choose because golf has been an expensive one. All right, number 3 and the last one that I'll get into today is time management. Now, this is a huge one. Now, I would highly recommend putting yourself on some type of schedule. Now, set aside certain times for certain tasks and try to be as persistent with that schedule as you possibly can. Now, this will help you focus on a specific task for a specific amount of time. That way, you're kind of not spending too much time on one particular thing and getting too caught up in trying to get one project done in a one sitting. And then you end up, your mind starts bouncing around different ideas, different thoughts, and you end up spending a lot longer doing a specific project than it normally takes time to do just because now your mind's everywhere. Because I don't know how many times I've sat at the desk editing a project and I start, an hour, 2 hours have gone by and now you start getting restless looking at the same clips over and over and over again, listening to the same music, hearing the same voices, and your mind starts to get tired of that. And what I do is I start to let my mind drift into other things and wishing I was working on this project instead. And I start thinking about the next project and the phone's ringing and clients is asking me about future projects. So now my mind is everywhere and I can't necessarily go back and focus on one thing. So I'll sit there and I'll watch one clip 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row, just be like, what am I doing? There's actually a scientific study that says due to natural variations in our cycle of alertness, one can only really concentrate on one specific task for about 90 minutes at a time before needing a 15 to 20 minute break. Now, I'm not a big science guy, so I have no idea if that's 100% correct or not, but I did find, for me at least, if I spend too much time on a given project, my mind will start to drift and fade, and then in turn, I will start to sit there and force myself to try to hammer through the project. And then that's when, mistakes start to get made because I'm tired, mentally fatigued. So I'm making multiple mistakes. I'm overlooking a lot of small details. My creative awareness and my creative vision takes a dive because I'm not necessarily in my creative space anymore because I'm thinking about too many things at a given time. And then you get to a point where you think you finished the edit, you take a break and you go back and look at that edit and you watch it back and you're just looking at yourself saying, what was I thinking, right? Because there's so many different things that you wouldn't normally do to that specific edit. And you're like, why did I do that? So this has also happened to you, which I'm pretty sure it has because it's happened to me and a lot of my creative friends that I've talked to on a normal basis, then there's gotta be something to this whole 90-minute concentration period thing. So give that a try, man. Let me know how that works for you. And this video is starting to get longer than I originally anticipated, so I'm just gonna sign off. But just remember to be cautious of how you're spending your time. Get back to the things that serve your mental health. Pick up a new hobby because, teaching yourself something new and learning some new tricks can be that little bit of balance and jolt that you need in your own creative vision to kind of get yourself going and get yourself knocking out projects and getting yourself back into your whole creative flow. But all right, man, y'all have a good one. Keep creating and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
I've been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I've been all in them trenches. I've been all in my bag.